kind of at the beginning to help us get started and help us kind of focus on the conversation today. So we are live now on Facebook, and we're excited to be here. It's going to be a great conversation. We're waiting for people to join us, and seeing people come online now, seeing people join this live conversation about MITS. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I am really looking forward to this conversation. I've got some great friends joining me live today to talk about mental health. So here we are. We're live on Facebook, and this is a Zoom interview. I've got Irene from our Made in the Streets team in Kenya. Irene joined the MITS team in 2006, and she currently wears many hats here at Made in the Streets. Her primary role is the Assistant Director of MITS Operations in Kenya, so she works very closely with Mbuvi. But she also serves as the MITS on-site counselor as well as the librarian. She also teaches classes. She holds a degree in counseling psychology. We're thrilled to have Irene on the call today. We also have Winn Thomas from Nashville, Tennessee, joining us today. Winn serves as the current secretary for the board of directors of Made in the Streets here in the U.S. Winn has volunteered in Kenya for more than 100 days and first began serving with MITS back in 2015, and she served as an intern in Kenya after she graduated from Lipscomb University in 2016. She joined the MITS board of directors in 2018, and she works now as a counselor and a therapist in Nashville. So welcome, Winn. Welcome, Irene. I'm glad you guys are here with me today, and I'm excited to talk to you about mental health and what's happening with our students and our street kids in Kenya. I want to make a few thoughts or share a few comments as we get started today. It seems like each week that goes by, we're faced with more uncertainty and confusion. There are days when we feel so close together, and then there are other days where we just feel miles apart. At all times, the love of God and the mission of MITS compels us to be a light in darkness and to love others, no matter what. We know there's a lot to talk about. We know that our world is struggling with so many issues right now. But it's important for me to say that for the last 25 years, and even still today, the mission of loving and serving street kids in Kenya, the way Jesus would love and serve them, is still going on. It's happening. It's happening today. It's happening every day. And I'm delighted that you're here with us for this conversation. And today, for this conversation, we want to talk specifically about the COVID-19 pandemic, but more specifically, how the students at MITS and the boys and girls on the streets in Kenya are dealing with mental health issues. So Irene, I want to start with you, and I want you to just catch us up a little bit. What's the situation like right now in Kenya? What's happening with COVID-19 and with the government-imposed lockdown? Seems we may be on a bit of a delay. And so, Irene, are you there? Do you hear us?
I hear you now. I'm back. I can hear you now.
That's great. Great. Sorry about that. So tell us what's happening in Kenya right now. How's the COVID-19 situation, and how are the lockdown restrictions?
Okay, we still have a curfew in countrywide from 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. So everybody stays indoors until that time. We still have cessation of movement in and out of Nairobi Metropolitan, Kilifi, and Mombasa. So, there's restriction of movement. Today, we hit a total number of 2,093 infections. Since the first case in Kenya, we have 71 deaths and 499 recoveries. And, the lockdown is still on, schools are still closed, kids are not going to school, still people are not going to work, a good number of people are not going to work. Slowly, we have seen small businesses beginning to open and, kind of to get to earn a living. Most people earn their living from hand to mouth. So they have to go out there and find something for their families and for themselves. So even though they need to be indoors, like everyone is being told, stay home to stay safe, some people don't have that luxury. They have to go out. We are encouraged to wear our masks every time we're in public, and we have seen how people started out so well, wearing their masks and all that. But slowly, as time goes by, when you walk within the streets of Nairobi, you'll see that some people are kind of tired with the situation and are not wearing their masks or not wearing them properly. But there's a lot of washing of hands and sanitizing. In fact, if you go to stores, all the stores at the entrances, you will see water and soap, and they check your temperature before you go in. So people are trying to stay safe, even though I can tell that people are getting tired of the situation. It's been a long time.
It has been, and you guys have had to deal with a lot with these restrictions. It's different in Kenya. How would you characterize the learning environment in Kamulu, or the way that our students are living? How is it different now than it was before this?
It's different because the movement of our students within Kamulu is also restricted. With the schools being closed, we cannot have our students go to the learning center and also go to the skills center. So all the students and the team members spend their days at the residential areas. So it means we have had to adopt a new approach in teaching and learning. And learning has moved from classroom-based to one-on-one sessions. And it has worked because our students have continued to keep in touch with their books and get to ask the teachers some questions and continue with their learning, and not just sit and kind of forget. Considering the past that they have had, with drugs and all that, it's important for them to keep it ongoing because it's easy to forget. So
right.
we have really tried to keep learning going, even though in a slow pace than what we are usually used to. But in the residential areas, we've adopted that kind of non-formal approach kind of learning that is working for us.
That's good, and I know these students do well at adjusting. I mean, they've had so many different things thrown at them in their life. They've had to deal with so many different obstacles. Their ability to adjust is great to see, and it's great to hear about. Tell us a little about the new students. I know we had students come off the streets earlier this year that just started at MITS. How are they adjusting, or maybe even more specifically, how is this pandemic impacting them and their adjustment to a new situation?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you should ask that because I had a session with a few of our new students last week on Friday. And one of the things that marks a transition, a real transition for them, and show them that they truly belong, is finishing their orientation period, which takes about 3 weeks, and then joining classes. And when they do that, they get to receive their school uniforms. For the new students that came in, that was halted. They came in, started their orientation process, and then towards the middle, COVID happened, and we had to stop going to our learning centers. That means they did not complete their orientation, and they have not received their uniform yet. So some of them are feeling like the process is incomplete and they don't truly belong. So their questions are like, am I going to wear a uniform? Am I going to join class? And they want to know which class they're going to join. So they're kind of like hanging in the balance. They're not really sure. But until that transition happens and they are able to go through the process, just like they were told at the beginning, will they feel that they truly belong? We also have a few of the new students who are also appreciative that they're in a better place. They feel that this is a better place compared to when they were in the streets. And having a place to sleep, they're sure of food to eat. They have team members there who are showing them that they're important people, and their work, their time is enough for them, and they're feeling good. So it's kind of like a mixture of emotions, which is expected at this particular time, but it's well. We are trying so hard to make them feel that they belong.
That's good. That's good. Okay, I want to ask you a few more questions before we visit a little bit with Winn. And I want to focus specifically now on those mental and emotional health issues. When you think about these teenagers at MITS, I mean, these are former kids, they've left the streets, they've begun a new life. What kind of emotions are they dealing with? What feelings are they expressing during all this chaos and crisis? What are some of the mental health things you're seeing impacted in them?
Mm-hmm. The number one thing that I've heard amongst all the students is boredom. This is from the new students, the graduating class, and those who are still continuing. They're feeling a little bit bored because their days were usually busy because they woke up very early in the morning. We had chapel, we had classes. There was this routine until late in the night when they had their games, then finish everything and go to sleep. So you find that that has been disrupted. And even though they have class time, which is small groups at a time, they feel there's a lot of extra time. And they can't go out to the soccer field to play, they can't, there are things that we have not been able to do, like go shopping and do stuff like that. So they feel bored. We also have students who feel uncertain about the future. If you look at the graduates, like this is a time, they have 5 months left because you can't count December. This is a period when they're going to be graduating. So they're uncertain at what the future holds. They feel there are a few of them who feel they won't be prepared enough as previous graduates have been prepared. And also since many people have lost their jobs, including those who are working in restaurants and hair salons, which are areas where mostly our graduates like major in, they feel there'll be competition between them and these people who will be looking for new jobs. And these people already have experience. So they're uncertain about that. And there's also fear. It's about time when graduates look for documents to find their identity cards so that they are ready for that period. And with this cessation of movement in and out of Nairobi or in between different estates, they cannot go back home to look for those certificates and start for the process of looking for IDs. So it's hard for them. They are feeling that they're not going to be ready. It's not going to be complete for them. Yeah, so those are some of the general feelings around.
Yeah, I can only imagine that fear that comes with uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Here they have all these last few years had this routine and this goal to look forward to and this hope, and then all of a sudden now these uncertainties, it has to create some kind of fear. It has to create some kind of anxiety in them. Winn, we'll turn to you now. As you hear Irene describe these feelings, as you hear her talk about these issues expressed by these kids, how does this compare to what teenagers in the U.S. are dealing with? Is it the same?
Yeah, I think it's really similar for sure. I mean, those feelings of uncertainty, and even with the graduates in the States who just finished high school or just finished college looking for jobs, I've heard similar feelings there. When I think about differences, one of the huge differences, and one of the reasons I'm so thankful that there's a place like Made in the Streets is that the US and around the world, there's a lot of kids and teenagers who are not safe in their homes, and going to school, going to summer camps was a place to get away, or for adults to realize if something's going on in the house that shouldn't be. And so just to have those teenagers and kids kind of stuck in unsafe environments is something that we don't have to worry about with the students at Made in the Streets. And just to hear Irene talk about the new students and how they are loving that environment is so great. And then the other thing is just social isolation. I think teenagers, one of their developmental tasks as teenagers is develop social skills and empathy. And you do that through connecting with peers. And so a lot of teenagers in the States are trying to connect through technology, but don't feel like that's the same as being in person. And that's another difference from our students at Made in the Streets, that they have their peers around them. They don't get to see all the students there, but they are around some of their peers. And so I think that's a huge benefit and blessing for them.
Sure. That's interesting. When you think about both cases here, the teenagers in the US and teenagers in Kenya, From your experience and the education that you have, what are some of the longer term implications, or maybe what are some of the things that you would be concerned about regarding their mental health if this pandemic lingers and continues longer and longer?
Yeah, I think one of the major things is just those developmental skills being met. So being able to get creative about peer interactions. If your teenager is in social isolation, figuring out what that could look like for them. This is a time where teenagers are wanting to be around their friends and not their parents, and that's a natural thing. But right now they're stuck with their parents. So figuring out kind of what that can look like. And then I think too, just giving teenagers a space to be able to talk about what's going on. There's a lot of grief that's going to need to happen in processing experiences that they have missed. And
Right.
even if that seems very minor to you as an adult, as you're able to zoom out and see the whole perspective of you missed one thing, one prom, just to give them space, listen to them, validate what's going on with them. Likely we can't fix lost experiences. We can get creative about what that will look like, but more than anything, they just need a safe person to validate and listen to what they're going through and give them space to feel whatever they need to feel and grieve whatever they need to grieve.
Right. And that's a great segue. I was just thinking as you were talking about coping and coping skills. Irene, how are you and the team in Kenya helping these students cope with their issues? What are some specific things you might be helping them to learn, or what skills are you hoping that our students and MITs will get during this time?
One thing that our kids are equipped with at the moment is not so long ago we had mission specialists come and we learned about resilience. And the students, all our students have been involved in group counseling where they learned resilient skills. And they're using those at the moment right now. And just talking with them and asking them, how have you been able to cope? One of the things they talk about is having that not giving up spirit. And those who have been here can really attest to our students having that. They push on and they don't give up easily. And they know that this is not going to last forever. Somebody told me, one of the students told me that this is also going to come to an end. So they know that whatever happens, it's going to come to an end and they're going to go back to their lives soon. Team members that are made in the streets are really big on encouraging students, and we are really good at spotting when a student is kind of feeling down and go to them and talk to them and reassuring. So there's a lot of that happening whereby when the students have questions or they have concerns, we talk to them each individually and let them know that everything is okay and reassure them as much as we can. Continuing with education like what we are doing right now, so that their days are close to what they usually used to, going to class and learning with other students and listening to their teachers helps them realize that, it's not so different. Another concern that they really have is for their parents and their relatives who are out of made in the streets. Because right now, they cannot go out, but we have tried as much as possible to keep them in contact so that they're able to call back home, and if they have really living relatives, then they can talk to them and kind of get to know how everybody's doing, because it's hard, staying at a place even though you are safe and you don't know where you are, how your family is doing. So that has really, really helped them. As much as possible, we still go back to the Bible. And right now we are doing the story, and the stories of the Bible just also gives them reassurance and letting them know that God is there for them. And no matter what happens, God has a good plan. And they're very sure about that. They're also involved in sports and entertainment, different kinds of entertainment. We have a basketball court at the boys' compound, and they can go there and release all their stresses there as they play basketball and other indoor games and watch TV and stuff like that. So that's helping them cope.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Winn, is there any other universal skills you think we all need during this pandemic, during these different crises that we keep facing week after week? Is there anything you would suggest for all of us to kind of do to help with our own mental health?
Yeah. First of all, just listening to Irene and how blessed Main the Streets is to have her with her skills and knowledge and helping these students through this time, and building on that resiliency that those students have that is so strong. And like Irene said, those of you that have been there see that, and that's something that can inspire all of us for sure. I think just giving ourselves space to check in with our feelings, what's going on inside of us, and communicating that to those around us. I tell families a lot, like, have all kinds of different feelings wheels that have all different kinds of emotions, and having everyone in your family or whoever you are quarantined with saying, this is how I'm feeling. You can talk about it or you can not talk about it, but just letting other people know that care about you, around you, kind of what's going on with you, so that if they see a response or a reaction, they're able to say, oh, that probably didn't have anything to do with me. That was probably what they were feeling. But also just to be aware within ourselves of what's going on, so that we can help ourselves regulate our emotions, say respond rather than react. And so that's a big coping skill, is just checking in with yourself, even if it's you set an alarm on your phone every hour, every 2 hours, you just check in, what's going on, what am I feeling, especially with the stuff going on right now in the US. A lot of people have a lot of different emotions about what's going on, and we're not really sure what to do with those. A good first step is just identifying and labeling those, so that you know what you need to do with those, how to be proactive, and how to work with those emotions. You know, what is that going to propel you towards? What action will make next?
That really is good. This whole conversation's been great. I wish we could do this so much longer, because I'm learning so much from both of you. I want to ask you guys about one more thing. We've asked MIT's partners and friends in the States to encourage our staff and students, and people can do that by sending notes directly through our website, mainthestreets.org. Do you have any suggestions for people who want to send those encouragements on things they should say, like what to say, or maybe even what not to say when writing encouragement notes and when giving support to our team and to our students? Irene, anything you would say, what not to say, what to say?
Giving all kinds of encouragement is something that anyone who's thinking about sending a message should say. You know, tell them that you care about them, you're sending prayers, everything is going to be okay. Let them know that God is in control and He has our best interest. He's not going to let us, you know, fall and things like that. What I would say not to write is promises that you know you cannot fulfill. Like promising that I will come and see you someday when you know you will not. It gives somebody false hopes, and our students love it when their sponsors can come and visit them, so that they can really feel, they can touch and feel and know that this is a real person, you know. So if you know that you cannot make it anytime in the near future before they graduate, then don't promise. Yeah. That's what I would say.
I think that's really good about not promising things and not giving false hope. And right now, with so much uncertainty, we don't know when we can travel again. We don't know when we might be able to be there. And so just saying, I'm thinking of you, I care about you, I'm praying for you, I think is so great. Winn, would you add anything to that?
I think that's great. Just, you know, compassion and empathy, and truth, if that based in the Bible, is great to, you know, remind them of truth about who they are in God's eyes and God's promises. And I would also say just, you know, this is a shared global experience that we're all dealing with, and it looks different. Of what my day-to-day life looks different than Irene's day-to-day life, but being able to share with the staff and students, like what it looks like in the US, what you're going through, and then being able to hear their experience is really neat, to be able to have that connection and shared experience.
Sure. This is awesome. And everything you guys have said is so helpful. I know there's many of us out here that want to help, but we want to help in the right way. And there's a lot of ways people can make a difference for students and for these kids living on the streets in Kenya. I think sending encouragement notes is awesome. I think praying for them is so important. Our kids need your prayers. Our staff needs your prayers. And for those who are able, monthly donations help. They help provide basic essentials like food that we need all the time. But also at this time, they help with extra essentials like sanitizers and masks and those things that are new over there in Kenya. We're pushing up on the end, and so I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I'm so thankful for your partnership, your investment in changing lives. These precious kids in Kenya need you, and we are so thankful that you're a part of this with us. We have a great interview planned for next week. We'll be talking about MIT's graduates and the hardships they're facing. We'll have Jackton, Millie, Joel, Moses from the team in Kenya will all be on here with me. We'll be live next Tuesday at 12 p.m. noon Central Time. That's 10 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. I hope you'll join us. As I close, it goes without saying that these are very tough times around our world, especially tough this week right here in the United States. Before we go, I'd like to invite you to just join me in a prayer. And I'd like to pray for peace and for understanding. Join me. Father God, we ask you to give us peace and bring healing to our land. As the Prince of Peace, we ask you to give us a deeper understanding of how to love and serve others. Give us greater wisdom and increase our skills to listen. Help us, God, to find healing in the midst of hurting. We ask these things in the name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Asante sana, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, Irene.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Winn.